Captain's Log Stardate 98642.7. We're diving deep into the Dyson Joint Command reputation, specifically the Captain's traits you unlock pushing through Tier 5. Is Deadly Aim worth the grind? Are these passives meta-defining or just filler? Let's break it down trait by trait with hard numbers, gameplay context, and my unfiltered take. Shields Up Engage. First, a quick watch summary. Dyson Joint Command is the reputation tied to the Solani Dyson Sphere content. You grind Dyson marks from a step between stars, the Voth Battle Zone, or Undine reputations. At Tier 5 you unlock Deadly Aim, but the real value is the 9 traits you pick up along the way. Let's rate them for ground and space, player versus environment focus, with player versus player notes where relevant. Deadly Aim. Plus 16% critical severity, ground. Straightforward. This is your Tier 5 reward. 16% critical severity is roughly a 5 to 7% damage per second bump on critical hit heavy kits like sniper rifles or the TR-116B. Stacks with everything, no diminishing returns. Verdict: a tier. Mandatory if you run ground critical hit builds. Skip if you're a tank or healer. Integrated nanofibers. Plus 10 all damage resistance rating, ground. 10 damage resistance rating equals 2 to 3% damage reduction at typical resistances. It's free, always on, and scales with nothing. Verdict: C tier. Nice for new players, irrelevant at endgame where you're stacking 70 plus damage resistance rating from kits alone. Active Armor Hardening. Plus 0 to plus 75 all damage resistance rating as hit points drop, ground. The star of the ground lineup. At 1 hit point you hit plus 75 damage resistance rating, that's 15 to 18% extra mitigation. Pairs insanely well with Defiance, more on that later. Example: Voth Tyrannosaurus Rex beams you to 10% hit points. You go from 60 damage resistance rating to 135 damage resistance rating. You live. Verdict: S tier. Best in slot for any ground build that fights elites. Vanquish. Plus 10 to plus 20 armor penetration when target less than 50% hit points, ground. 20 armor penetration equals 4 to 5% extra damage in the execute phase. Great for burst kits, example pull wave spam. Downside: only activates below 50%. Useless in long fights against tanks. Verdict: B tier. Strong in task force operations with quick kills, niche elsewhere. Defiance. Below 50% hit points, plus 1000 damage resistance rating, plus 33% damage, 29.9 heal over time every 2 seconds for 20 seconds. This is your emergency button. 1000 damage resistance rating equals 70 to 80% damage reduction. You become a god for 20 seconds. The plus 33% damage is bonus damage, not category 1 or 2. It stacks with everything. Synergy. Trigger with active armor hardening, you're unkillable and shredding. Verdict: S++ tier. Best active trait in the game for ground. Period. Advanced targeting systems. Plus 16% critical severity, space. Host. Same as Deadly Aim but space. 16% critical hit is huge on directed energy weapon science builds or torpedo boats with penetration. Math. On a 50% critical chance build, this is about 8% average damage per second. Verdict: a tier. Best in slot for any critical hit heavy spacebar. Advanced hull reinforcement. Plus 10 all damage resistance rating, space. 10 damage resistance rating in space equals 1 to 2% mitigation. Laughable at endgame. You want 100 plus from bridge officers or consoles. Verdict: D tier. Vendor trash. Active hull hardening. Plus 0 to plus 75 all damage resistance rating as hit points drop, space. Same as ground version. At 1 hit point plus 75 damage resistance rating equals 10 to 12% extra mitigation. Synergy. Activate hazard emitters or engineering fleet at low hit points, survive burst. Verdict: B tier. Good on tanky cruisers, weak on glass cannons. Tactical advantage. Plus 10 to plus 20 armor penetration when target less than 50% hit points, space. 20 armor penetration equals 3 to 4% damage per second in execute. Great for torpedo boats or cannon scatter volley spam. Downside: only below 50%. Useless versus Borg Queens or Sankethi Dreadnoughts. Verdict, B tier. Strong in elite task force operations with fast kills. Ground meta build. Deadly aim. Active armor hardening. Defiance. Vanquish, situational. Space critical hit build. Advanced targeting systems. Tactical advantage. Tank cruiser. Active hull hardening. Advanced targeting systems. Skip the +10 resistance traits unless you're leveling. So, is Dyson Joint Command worth the grind? Yes, for Defiance and active armor hardening alone. The rest are bonuses. If you main Ground Rush Tier 5, space players can relax at Tier 4. Drop your favorite Dyson trait combo below, and if you're still running integrated nanofibers in 2025, respectfully update your build. Live long and prosper. Computer and log.